Pete back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today we're going to complete the leather pirate cuffs, and we're going to put on some spots and some decorative spots, and then we're also going to lace them up, and then they'll be ready to go. So come on in and let's get started. Okay, if you watched the last video, if you haven't, you might want to go back and check that out on the two-tone dyeing. But I've went ahead and put my sheen on these cuffs, and you can tell how shiny they are now. So I've got my, also you could tell if you saw the two-tone dyeing video that my tan has lightened up quite a bit. So I've got my sheen on there, I got my nice dark shine, and then we're going to put some round spots. If I don't drop it, we're going to put some round spots and then some decorative raised square spots. We're going to go every other one, and I kind of preliminarily measured this, and I want to start a round spot up at the top and work my way down to each top corner. So as I measured, it worked out perfect if they were an inch apart. So I started at the peak here at the top and then measured an inch and took my stylus and just made a little indentation in my guideline here for my groove. Another mark at an inch, another mark at 3, another mark at 4. Turned it around, staying on that first mark. Mark it at an inch, mark it at 2, mark it at 3, and mark it at 4. So then I know exactly where I'm going to place my spots. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these really small needle nose pliers, and that will allow me to grab a hold of one of the little tangs on the spot and hold that on the line in that mark, or on that mark, and then I could just give it a little tap, and that'll tell me where I need to poke my holes, my starter holes. Now, I still have my cardboard sitting here from the dyeing process, so I'm going to take my tools, lay them aside here, put my spots on the side, and then I'm just going to take this cardboard piece out so I don't, because I'm going to need a solid surface when I start poking those holes through that leather, and I don't want a bouncy cardboard surface. So I could use my granite stone, and I may go to that, but I'm going to try just using a piece of scrap leather behind my leather, and I'm going to take a single stitching awl, just a single point, and wherever those marks were that I just put in there, those are going to be my guide. You could just press it in with your thumb or finger if that works too. And make sure you hit the right hole, and I'm just barely going through that leather. Just barely tapping the point of that through that leather. just so I can get my spots in. Now, I've done this before where I haven't done my pilot holes on my spots, and then I have a problem bending my spot or the grooves for the anchors for the spots. So I like to put my pilot hole in there, then with a backer piece of scrap leather, tap them in very gently. I'm not hitting it super hard. And there's my spot, and here's my prongs on the back. You can see them sticking out. I'll turn it over, put that on the leather, and then I've just got a small piece of metal rod that I've cut off. I think it was off of an old kitchen utensil or something. But I'll push down on this side of my prongs. Then I'll go to the side and push it over. Go to this side, trying not to get in your way, get in the camera's way. Go to this side, and push it over. Then I can put that rod on those prongs and tap them over. Now that spot's hollow, so as I tap those in, it will kind of go down into that and pull that toward that hollow spot on the back side. So there's the first one. I'll go ahead next and put in one of the square spots. And again, you can use the needle nose, or those little prongs will go right in that groove that I put in there. I'm going to go ahead and mark each one of these so I know where to put my holes. So every other one will be a round one, then a square one, a round one, and then a square one. So I'm alternating the shapes instead of doing all one shape. Alright, so I've got all my marks in there. Now that I have my marks in there, I can go ahead and punch each one of them. And again, I'm not trying to go really far through there. I just want to poke a pilot hole. So I can get my spot prong in there. So, got all my pilot holes for that side. Take my square spot, start it in the pilot holes. Again, I'm tapping very lightly, and I do have this scrap piece of leather behind there. You want to make sure you get it all the way through. That's why I keep checking. Then I can flip it over, push on this side. If you have to, tap it on that side to make sure you're all the way through, and then go ahead and start bending those over. Once I have them started, again, I'll tap to make sure I have it bent over and there's nothing pointy sticking out that's going to scratch anybody. And there's the first two. So I've got a round one and then a larger square decorative. Go to my round again. Push it over, tap them down, and there's round, square, round. So you can see how it's really starting to shape up. Go back to a square. And the key again is to get those prongs bent over all the way to where it pulls the spot in tight. And then the last one is another round one, just like we started with. Flip it over. Push those prongs over toward the center and tap them down. So there's one side totally complete. Started out at the center with a round one. Square, round, square, round. So pretty sharp. Now I'll continue down this way, and that'll finish this pirate cuff. So I need to take a square, make my marks, and they're just so small they're hard to hang on to. Move down, make my marks on the other one. I'll skip one for the round, do a square, skip the square, do my last round. Now I can put my holes, my pilot holes in, and you can see I'm only hitting it like one time to get through the surface of that leather. The key is to keep that scrap piece of leather backing on there, and that gives you something to drive into, whether it's your punch or your spot. Double check it, make sure I'm through all the way. And when I push those over, I always push down and over. That way I'm pushing those prongs, or that leather, down on those prongs as I'm pushing them over. Go to round. Go down on my pilot holes. And the more you do this, it's just like anything else, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it, the quicker you'll get at it, and it kind of becomes a quicker routine. There's my square and my round one I've got in there so far. Let's go ahead and put another square one in. Now that one I'm going to take my stylus and I'm going to lift up on that spot, and I'll show you why. Look what happened to my prong on my spot. Got bent over as I was trying to drive it through the leather. So let me see if I could straighten that out with these needle nose pliers. Have a little straighter go of it here, and if I can't, I may have to get another spot. And it could be that my pilot hole wasn't deep enough, so I'll double check my pilot hole, because it wanted to go in sideways instead of straight down into the leather. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. Let's see if I can't get a better start. And for some reason it acts like this hole right here isn't a good pilot hole. So I'll check those pilot holes real quick. That feels much better. See if I can get it down in there this time. And then push the prongs over. And I'm still not real happy with that one. It's wanting to get pushed out. So I'm gonna take that spot and replace it with a new one, because it just acts like the spot wants to go in a weird direction, or the prong. So let's try a different one, and this one went in straight. So obviously it wasn't the pilot holes, it was the spot itself. I think one of the angles on the prongs was kind of a weird angle. That's alright, I just replaced it with another spot. It turned out fine. And then the last one is a round one. Seems like I have pretty good luck with the round ones. They want to tap in pretty straight every time. Bend those prongs over, and then tap them down. Double check the back. You can see where they all went in. Make sure there's nothing sticking out. And there's one finished cuff. So you can see, let me show you the other one that doesn't have any spots on it at all. You can see the difference in how these spots really make that pop. So I'll go ahead and set that aside. I'll show you the second one. I'll go pretty quickly here. spot, pushing those prongs over, and then setting them on the back side. So there's the back side, prongs bent over, there's the front side. So there's the set. Alright, so the last step is I'm going to take some of this gray leather and I'm going to mold these up a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and lace them up, and I think I'll put the lace, yeah, I think I can put it through the bottom two holes, even it up, and then just lace it like a shoe. I try to keep my lacing nice and even. I'm kind of like that with when I lace up shoes too. I like to keep it to where the shoelaces actually match up. So you may need to twist your lace a little bit if you want to get them to match up. And I'll go from the inside. And sometimes you may have to cut you a wedge or a point on your lace if you're having problems getting it to start. And on this one it acts to me like it's the hole, but it went right through. And I'll turn that lace where it stays the same side up, because you got a smooth side and a rough side. So I'll keep an eye on that as I'm lacing this up, and I'll keep turning that as I stick it through the next hole. And as you can see, I'm just lacing it up just like you would a shoe. Turning that lace to keep I'm keeping the suede side up. And I'm going to cut a little point on this end because it's getting difficult to get through starter hole. With that point it goes right through, no problem. Keep turning my lace. And there it is. So as you tighten these up all the way down, you'll have more out here to tie here. And you can tie those in a knot with this lace and it'll come right out. So as I tighten these around the arm, you'll have more lace to tie off your knot with. So tighten these up as you go, and that will help form the shape. And you can see as I tighten those up how much more lace I have out here to tie with. And that's what it looks like with the spots on it. And again, these are made for a 6-year-old child, not an adult, so they are a little bit smaller. So it gives you a good shot at the artwork that was hand carved, the spots around the top, and now you can see how those spots really make that top curved area look awesome instead of it just being cut straight across. Alright, I'll go ahead and lace up this other one off camera, but there's a finished one. Gives you a good idea how I laced it up, the spots, the artwork. Turned out really nice. So thanks for coming along on this project. I appreciate it. Please, like I always say, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.